Right now, temperatures are free-falling across Wisconsin with highs in the teens today, and things are expected to get even colder tonight. Plus, less than 12 hours away from kickoff, we have what you need to know before the Packers take the field in the NFC Championship game tonight.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now This Morning.
Good morning. It is 6:30 in the morning on January 19th. I'm Keely Arthur, and with meteorologist Chris Reese. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Keely.
So you had the perfect day yesterday, lots of snow.
Of course.
Are we going to see any more of that today?
You might see a flurry or two.
Okay.
I still think that chance is on the lower end. I think the bigger story is going to be the cold, especially this morning, as opposed to tomorrow morning, which tomorrow morning is going to be cold as well. But get this, we do have wind chill advisories. These are going to stay in effect until we get you into the later part of this morning. Wind chills in Madison right now are 13 below, 16 below in Janesville. Monroe, the wind chill, 21 degrees below zero, and these wind chills are important because that is what your body feels, even though that's not the actual air temperature. Watch these wind chills as we go towards lunchtime. We'll start to see them warm up to -6. That's a weird one to say right there. And then we will actually see those wind chills warming up again close to zero by the time we get you towards the evening. And then tomorrow morning, we'll see those wind chills down below zero again, but it won't be as bad. High resolution Doppler giving us a relatively clean sweep this morning. That's relatively the case across much of the upper Midwest, other than lake effect snows as you see as you work your way towards the east. Otherwise, things remain quiet as we go through the day. Traffic remains quiet as well, but you want to make sure that you are watching those neighborhood side streets. They were messy again this morning, and at this point it's too cold to really treat them other than plowing, so it's just going to compact down to another layer of ice.
Right, and good advice also with like sidewalks, anyone walking downtown, it's very slippery everywhere.
Very slippery, yes. So have your boots on, per se, and not the dress shoes that I'm wearing.
Some of us had learned that advice the hard way.
Yes,
all right. Thank you, Chris.
My pleasure.
Well, Madison police are investigating a homicide at a West Side apartment complex yesterday. Police say that the preliminary investigation indicates that this was a targeted incident. The victim suffered gunshot wounds, but the official cause of death has not been released just yet. Neighbors say they didn't hear anything. A man who lives in the building next door says just in the last year, the area near Raymond Road has become worse.
And there was cops all up and down this. There was a fire truck and an ambulance. And next thing I know, there's cops everywhere, and they're blocking everything off and checking people coming in and out. It happened in the next building over, and I don't know many of them. You know, you really don't associate with the people from the other buildings.
The victim has not yet been identified, but is believed to be an adult male by officials. The Diocese of La Crosse is naming 25 clergy members who participated in substantiated child sexual abuse accusations. While the report says the priests or deacons served, they're not disclosing what parish they were at. Most of the members are now deceased. Now, this information comes just after the Catholic Diocese of Madison added another name to its list of priests credibly accused of sexual abuse on Friday. Investigators went back more than 40 years to verify an accuser's story. Last year, the diocese announced that it was taking a deep dive into its history to find every priest who had credible accusations against them. They posted a list of the priests online, and when they did, someone called to let them know they were missing someone, Patrick Doherty. He has not served in the church since 1993. Friday's announcement brings the total list in the history of the diocese to 9.
That one man's sins is affecting other priests' lives is extremely sad, and the public's not to blame for that. It's the evil perpetrated by a priest, anywhere.
The only outstanding case the diocese has left to investigate is William Nolan. You'll remember he was acquitted by a jury on accusations of sexual abuse a few months ago. The church put a hold on its investigation while that trial was going on, but they've since resumed their work. They said to expect announcements on that next month. New this morning, we're hearing from Thomas Markle, Meghan Markle's father, after news that Meghan and Prince Harry are no longer working members of the royal family. According to the Buckingham Palace release, the couple will no longer formally represent the Queen, nor will they use their official titles. Earlier this month, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex announced plans to step back from their royal duties. They plan to work to become financially independent and then split their time between the UK and Canada.
This is like one of the greatest long living institutions ever. They're destroying it. They're cheapening it. They're making it shabby. They're turning it into a Walmart with a crown on it now. It's something that's ridiculous. They shouldn't be doing this.
In a statement, the Queen said she is pleased that they have found, quote, a constructive and supportive way to move forward. The stage is set for tonight's NFC Championship game over at Levi's Stadium in California. Packers fans got ready last night at the Packers Everywhere tailgate in Palo Alto. Fans got a chance to hear from former players like Lynn Dickey and Jordy Nelson, as well as Packers president and CEO Mark Murphy. And while the fans are definitely feeling confident for tonight's game, it was Nelson, a former Packers wideout, who says there's no feeling like right before kickoff.
I'm sure there's a few more bars around this area that are having as much fun as this one is, so it'll be fun to be a part of.
Our crew in California also spoke with a man named Pete from Partyville. He says he drove all the way to the Bay Area by himself in his van. He's hoping his drive back to Wisconsin after tonight's game comes as the Packers are NFC champions. On the field, it could have been Aaron Rodgers leading the 49ers against the Packers this weekend, but San Francisco went with Alex Smith for their first pick of the 2005 draft. Rodgers grew up in Northern California, watched plenty of Niners games, and even cracks a smile or two when he thinks about what could have been if a few things went differently.
I usually dreamed about playing for the 49ers as a kid. But obviously that thing passed a long time ago. But I do remember, some great games over the years between the Niners and the Packers, and a couple in this situation, I think. Right, Tom? NFC championships? Just one? Thanks. Just one.
Kickoff for tonight's game is at 5:40 over on Fox 47. News 3 Now will continue to bring you the latest from the stands and sidelines. Our Melissa Kim and Adam Duxter will have live team coverage on our shows this evening. More local news now. After 10 years on the force, or 70 in dog years, Madison Police Canine Slim is trading in his badge for life in retirement. Both Canine Slim and his handler, Officer Karen Corcoran, are retiring from the canine unit, making it official at a ceremony yesterday. Slim's success in tracking will be most remembered. In July of 2012, he conducted a 4-mile track that helped locate a homicide suspect. Now, Slim is home with Officer Corcoran as the two of them get ready to enjoy retirement together.
Still has some good quality of life left in him, and we basically get to ride off into the sunset. Mostly just enjoy the new phase of Slim and I's life together, that he's now mine for the first time versus always being with the department's property.
She was able to buy Slim from the department for just $1. Ahead of tomorrow's Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Dane County Executive Joe Parisi and Madison Mayor Sachi Rhodes Conway have named Ada Deer and Kenneth R. Cole as this year's recipients of the Humanitarian Award named in King's honor. Deer led a grassroots movement of the Menominee people that resulted in a historic reversal of federal policy and restored tribal recognition in 1971. She became the first Native American woman to win the nomination of a major major political party for Congress. Cole will receive the Emerging Leaders Award for his work to bring access, equity, and inclusion to underrepresented students at UW-Madison. Time right now, 6:39, and new research is out, and it shows just how many people come down with the, quote, Sunday scaries. And this weather certainly isn't going to help perk anybody up. Here is a live look of the Capitol outside. Chris is tracking your first alert day forecast right ahead.
The wind chill is the big story this morning, folks. Wind chill advisories are in effect for all of the areas that you see shaded in this pretty light blue. That includes places like Lake Mills, Madison, Sun Prairie, where you work your way up towards Poinette and Partyville, up towards Sauk City, down over towards Lone Rock. We are all under those wind chill advisories throughout a large portion of southwestern Wisconsin, where not only is it very cold, but the wind is certainly blowing out there this morning. 13 below is the feels like temperature for Madison right now. Monroe, it feels like 20 below zero right now. 19 below as you work your way over towards Viroqua. And these may even get a little bit worse before they get better as we continue to go through this morning. Now, by the late morning, I do think things begin to feel better for a lot of us. Here we are at lunchtime. We'll warm up towards 6 degrees below zero in terms of the wind chill. And then by the warmest part of the day, that wind chill should only be down towards about zero instead of 20 to 25 below. So that's certainly going to be some good news for us there. Let's put this into motion towards tomorrow morning. And notice while things are still cold, they aren't as cold. Those wind chills will only be around 0 to -10 as we move into your Monday. Then by Tuesday morning, I know that's a day that a lot of those kids go back to school. So you're watching the wind chills closely for them. Those are when excuse me, that is when we'll see those wind chills right around 2 below 0 or so. But here's some of those wind chill things that I want everyone to keep in mind. See, what wind does is it efficiently takes away heat from the body. That's why we always talk about wind chill. It's one of those things that is so important. And when your wind chills are at -18 or so, you can start to get frostbite in about half an hour. So this is something that I really want to make sure everyone pays close attention to. We're quiet out there today. We may run into a few flurries. Temperatures for most of us are right now around 1 or so. We've got a couple places that are a couple degrees warmer. I mean, I'm talking by a degree or 2. But as we go through the rest of the day, folks, we do keep that sunshine around. We'll top out around 11 as we move through this afternoon. We'll cool back down towards 1 degree overnight tonight, and then we gradually warm things up. 20 by Tuesday, 30s by the time we get you towards the end of the week, but that's when we also watch the next system coming our way. I think we'll see some light snow Wednesday into Wednesday night. I'm not sure about accumulation just yet, but then by Thursday and Friday, temperatures are going to be iffy. So we have a mix of rain and snow in that forecast, and then we have a couple days to still fine-tune the details on what to expect there.
And the weather's been so all over the place for the past few months. This is more typical for January, right?
This is typical, but even still, those temperatures, 36, that's 14 degrees above normal.
Oh, I'll take that.
So we're still warm. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Chris.
My pleasure.
Well, a new study shows a surprising amount of people feel Sunday night dread about work. New research from website The Sleep Judge showed an astonishing 81% of workers dread Mondays. It shows the, quote, Sunday scaries start out lighter in the morning, then build throughout the day, and by evening, people can feel heavy anxiety, irritability, headaches, depressed mood, and restless sleep. The study showed that while a bad boss certainly contributes to the anxiety, other things like workload, pressure to perform, and fear of being laid off also play a big role. Well, do you have plans to eat healthier in the new year? Maybe you're doing a cleanse to get a little jump start. But what do cleanses really do? Heather Brown went to a very busy fitness center to find out.
We can cleanse with soup, smoothies, juice.
And then there's this secret detox drink. Water, lemon juice, apple cider vinegar, cinnamon, cayenne pepper, and honey. Bottoms up. Whoa! Have you ever tried a detox diet?
I tried.
I think I'm scared of it, to be honest.
I saw it on Pinterest, and I think everything on Pinterest is great.
Are these cleanses going to change my life?
Probably not.
Family doctor Matt Hockett says patients always ask him about stuff they read online.
Are they bad for me?
No, generally they're not harmful. They're just not doing quite as much, they don't have quite as much benefit as people think that they would have.
In other words, Beyonce's lemonade diet won't turn you into Beyonce.
Well, the body is actually an amazing detoxifier in and of itself. We have liver and kidneys and lungs that usually gets rid of whatever toxins people have built up. A lot of people think by increasing the amount that you put out through urination or stool that you're going to increase the rate that your normal toxins would leave, but clinically it just doesn't bear out.
We use cleanse to describe a number of things, from juicing to Whole30.
I've heard people say, I detox by cutting sugar.
We want to cut out the sweets.
Cutting carbs.
Less alcohol.
Those all sound like very good things.
So no brownies until February?
I mean, I'm not going to commit to that, but that would be the idea, yeah.
I think the problem with juice is we miss out on the fiber, and that's probably the most important part of that fruit or that vegetable. Okay. So I'd rather have people just eat a healthy diet with plenty of fruits and vegetables, drink lots of fluids, and get plenty of exercise.
So you've learned. Yes, I've definitely learned.
Heather Brown.
I do still think Pinterest is great.
Well, doctors say people do drop weight on these cleanses because they're just not eating as much. They also say a short cleanse could be beneficial if it encourages someone to think long-term about healthy habits. As always, check with your own doctor if you decide to try some sort of detox like that one. Well, not sure if we can relate to this cleanse or relate this to a cleanse or not, but Americans are drinking less wine. For the first time in 25 years, wine consumption is down in the U.S. Instead of wine, the industry group IWSR found that Americans are drinking more hard seltzers and liquor. This follows a broader trend of people looking for healthier, lower calorie choices. And if you're looking for a sign to go ahead and get that glass of wine, here it is. Right now, a wine and spirit shop in Madison is helping those affected by the bushfires in Australia. Table Wine on Atwood Avenue started a nonprofit called Wires. It's focused on animal protection for wildlife throughout Australia. The shop is now donating proceeds from bottle and glass sales to help out after more than an estimated 1 billion animals were killed in those fires.
The thing that is important to me is that we already loved this wine. We already were supporting this winery. So then it's, you know, like a friend across the ocean asking you for help. You know, we want to do it. We want to just be able to help them in whatever way we can.
Owner Molly Moran isn't quite sure yet what percentage of sales will be donated to Australia, but she says she plans to donate as much as she can. Time right now is 6:49, and every year 20,000 teens age out of the foster care system, and right now the federal government is stepping in to help. The innovative new program to find these kids forever homes and show you're never too old to find a family. That's just ahead on News 3 Now this morning, Sunday.
Well, it just did a little bit of digging on yesterday's snowfall to get those final official numbers for folks. And here in Madison, we rounded out just under 6 inches officially at the airport. 5.8 is what they came up with. We had 6.1 here at the studios, and really most folks ended up on the higher side of 5 inches, close to 6 inches. But today, the bigger story is the wind chill. We're going to see those wind chills in the teens below zero. That's where they are now. They'll continue to be that way as we go through the morning, but by lunchtime and into the afternoon, we will start to see those wind chills begin to improve improve for us, especially as we head into tomorrow as well. Some of the things to keep in mind is that when those wind chills are down around -18 to -20, you can see frostbite in about half an hour if you aren't properly layered up. So layer up, folks. Stay warm if you have to be out today, or if it was just me, I'd maybe sit inside with a cup of apple cider, have a good time, and watch News 3 Now. Shameless plug there.
All good tips. Thank you, Chris. Well, every year, around 20,000 teenagers age out of the foster care system. And within just 4 years, up to a quarter of them end up homeless. Now, the federal government is stepping in to help. Ben Carson spoke with CBS's Jerrica Duncan about the innovative new solution.
The one biggest thing that this has given me is a sense of control over my life.
Control that was once a dream for Denver area teen Heidi Seabrook.
Going from, drugs to foster home to group homes to halfway houses and psych wards and jail.
Now the 18-year-old has the keys to a different future. And this, her first own apartment through a new federal housing initiative called Foster Youth to Independence.
I feel like this is the first time in my life that I have the peace and the room to kind of forgive myself, to grow a little bit.
The FYI program puts rent within reach and teaches job prep and life skills to former foster children ages 18 to 24.
There are so many people who...
The solution took a brain surgeon, Ben Carson, who heads the federal agency overseeing public housing.
People say it takes the government a long time to do anything, but within 4 months, the program was created.
And it's working. Participants typically pay 30% of their income towards rent. The FYI program covers the rest. So far, more than $2 million has gone to help out nearly 250 former foster children. Back in Colorado, Seabrook now sees a new future.
Who would think that I would go to college, not just like a drug addict, not just, some kid in the system. I can really be like who I want.
And have what every foster child really wants, a place they can call home.
Everything that is in my life, I feel like I allow it to be in my life, and everything that's in my house, I allow it to be in my house. It's really given me a sense of peace that this is a really safe place for me.
Now Heidi has set her sights on college. She wants to become a social worker to help at-risk teens like herself. And while the FYI program just started, Secretary Carson said it's already been a big enough success that he's adding almost $500,000 more to help more former foster kids like Heidi find homes. Jerrica Duncan, CBS News, New York.
Now, the idea from the program actually came from foster kids themselves. Well, there is a full hour of News 3 ahead on News 3 this morning, Sunday. Chris is tracking free-falling temperatures and several chances for snow heading into the work week. But first, here's a preview of what's to come on an all-new For the Record.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Neil Heinen, and today on For the Record, we're going to be celebrating the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment, guaranteeing women the right to vote, and we will be talking the more important than ever work of the League of Women Voters. My guests are League of Women Voters Dane County leaders Ernestine Moss, Marilyn Steffen, and Brooke Soltwet, and that's coming up this morning at 10:30 on News 3 Now.
Right now, a News 3 Now investigation. Janesville residents are concerned for their safety at a particular intersection. We look at crash data after stoplights were removed.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now this morning.
Good morning. It's January 19th. I'm Keely Arthur. More from Rock County in just a moment, and your first alert forecast with Chris, too. But first, here are the top 3 things we are following this morning. Madison police are investigating a homicide that happened in a West Side apartment complex yesterday afternoon. Police say that the preliminary investigation indicates that this was a targeted incident. The victim suffered gunshot wounds, but the official cause of death has not yet been released. The victim has not been identified, but is believed to be an adult male by officials. And the Diocese of La Crosse is naming 25 clergy members who participated in substantiated child sexual abuse accusations. This comes after the Catholic Diocese of Madison added another name, Patrick Doherty, to its list of priests credibly accused of sexual abuse on Friday, bringing the total in the history of the Diocese of Madison to 9. Most of the 25 members named in the La Crosse report are deceased. And we are just hours away from kickoff of the NFC Championship game in San Francisco. The Packers are hoping to fare better than their last trip to the Bay Area when the 49ers dominated them in front of a national audience. San Francisco had a 23-0 lead at halftime before eventually winning 37-8. Kickoff is set for 5:40 on Fox 47, and coming up at 7:30, hear what Aaron Rodgers says about another shot at playing in a Super Bowl. And turning it over to Chris Reese, who is dominating the forecast. Chris, we are seeing a little bit of snow, more cold though, right?
It's possible to see a couple of flurries out there, Keely, but that cold is going to be the bigger story. We have those wind chill advisories. Those are going to go through the morning. They do not expire until we get you towards about lunchtime today. Wisconsin Dells, Lone Rock, Mineral Point, Platteville, Boscobel, Madison. We work your way down towards Janesville, over towards Whitewater. You are all under these wind chill advisories until lunchtime, folks. And you're really going to want to bundle up. Right now in Madison, it feels like 11 below zero, but Monroe, 21 below zero is the wind chill right now. In Platteville, it's 17 below zero. And some of these get a little bit worse before they get better. Here we are at lunchtime. It'll still feel like 6 below zero in some spots. And then at the warmest part of the day, it'll likely feel like 0. But on the bright side, we don't have a winter storm to track this morning. We might see a couple of flurries coming our direction from the north. But for the most part, we are going to stay quiet over the upper Midwest. I'll let you know when that could change coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Chris, thank you so much. After a ceremonial start, the impeachment trial of President Trump resumes Tuesday. Before opening arguments can begin, senators must still vote on the rules for the impeachment trial, and they are expected to debate whether or not new witnesses should be heard. This weekend, the president added new members to his impeachment defense team, including Kenneth Starr, the independent counsel in the investigation that led to President Clinton's impeachment, former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi, and Alan Dershowitz, who was part of O.J. Simpson's dream team, will also argue on behalf of the president.
Right now, we're just asking for 4 witnesses who have unique information about the president holding back aid to a foreign country.
The job is to respond to what we've been given in the case that was built by the House.
A few Republicans have signaled they might be open to witnesses after hearing opening arguments first. While it only takes a simple majority to set the rules, it would take a super majority, or 67 senators, to remove the president from office. More local news now. Janesville residents are calling for changes to a downtown intersection they say could be deadly. People living there say a string of crashes, including many that have caused injuries, are a result of a conscious choice by the city. Rock County reporter Adam Duxter investigates the problem that could soon be repeated in the city.
Today, the intersection of Court Street in Jackson near downtown Janesville is quiet. But weeks ago,
well, I was coming down the street like this car, this way.
Things were much different for Karen Lisser.
I was driving on Court Street, and there wasn't even anyone at the intersection as I was approaching it, and the guy flew through and hit me right at the back end of the driver's door.
Her car totaled, and Karen sent to the hospital, where a police officer told her something she says she'll never forget.
And he said, it was very obvious you were wearing a seatbelt because you would have been ejected from that car at the impact that you were hit. And you probably wouldn't be here.
Which to Karen hits close to home.
I lost a brother to a car accident. And so you always know that can happen.
But Karen is not alone. In fact, in 2019, she was one of 17 to crash at this seemingly calm intersection, and one of a half dozen to go to the hospital. But things weren't always this way. Up until about a year and a half ago, there were streetlights here. In 2017, as the city council decided the street would become a two-way street, those lights weren't needed.
The infrastructure is quite a bit older, and we would have had to replace those signals if we want to keep them as, in for after the two-way conversion was done.
Only one council member stood against the idea.
So I was concerned that that intersection should, for a bare minimum, be a four-way stop.
His day job? Driving a tow truck, responding to accidents like this one each day. But the city's engineer says you can't blame the jump-in crashes on the lights alone.
If you had a traffic signal in, some cases those accidents still would happen.
But now there's more plans to take out even more lights. Just 1 block away at the corner of Jackson and Milwaukee. Woodard says raised intersections there should stop something like this from happening again. But for Karen,
hit me right in the middle of the intersection, actually.
It's a problem that needs to be addressed before it's too late.
Nothing does change. I really worry about people. What is it going to take? Somebody dying on the intersection?
Now, the city of Janesville says this spring it plans to put together a committee to analyze crash data and monitor the intersection of Court and Jackson. Although they say if the data tells them a stoplight is necessary, it could take quite some time for it to actually be implemented. You have 2 weeks left to help the Salvation Army of Dane County reach its holiday season goal. The Red Kettle campaign raised $545,000, $55,000 short of its $600,000 goal. The organization says Red Kettle donations make up 30% of its annual funding. The Salvation Army says donations will be accepted through the end of January. If they don't close the gap, they'll try to make up for it during the summer Kettle campaign in July. We have some good news to share on the flu front and a promising new way to get help if you come down with it and don't want to go to the doctor. Plus, here is a live look outside. Chris is tracking your alert day forecast straight ahead.
I did a little bit of digging to get those official snowfall numbers from the snow that we saw Friday night into yesterday. Madison officially came in right in line with where a lot of those other snowfall reports were. 5.8 was the official snowfall total for the city. At the airport here at the station, we were at 6.1 inches, and there were several reports that came in even higher than that. Some 7 and 7.5 inch reports came in. But closer towards the Madison area, a lot of them were right around 5.5 to 6 inches. Now today, the wind chill is the much bigger story. Those wind chill advisories are in effect until noon for all of the areas that you see shaded in that light blue. That does include us right here in the city of Madison. Places like Sun Prairie, Middleton, Belleville, you're all under that wind chill advisory. By the way, the wind chill is 11 below zero right now in town, 21 below zero as you work your way towards Monroe. And we're going to see things gradually warm up. Towards lunchtime, those wind chills will be around 5 to 10 below zero. And then towards the warmest part of the day, it'll feel like about zero. Now tomorrow, that's when we will start to see some improvement. Tomorrow morning, those wind chills are still going to be below zero, but they won't be as bad. We'll feel like the low teens during the warmest part of the day when we're into the upper teens. And then Tuesday morning, I know that's a period. A lot of folks are watching. Your kids are going back to the school. You're watching those wind chills to see how that may impact their wait at the bus stop. And I think wind chills will be around 4 or 5 below zero. So make sure that they are bundled up. I know that's not quite at the criteria that's needed to get any kids out of school. Sorry about that, folks. But with the wind chills that are out there right now, it can take you about 30 minutes to get frostbite if you are unprotected. So if you do have to go out, make sure that you are bundled up. No winter storms to track, but there could be a few flurries working their way down from the north. Outside of that, it's going to be a very quiet day across the upper Midwest. It's quiet out there now. The clouds did help to keep things just a little bit warmer. There's perhaps a flurry coming down at the airport. Temperatures are all into the low single digits, but here's what happens as we go through the rest of the day. We'll be at 6 by 10 o'clock. We'll top out right around 11 this afternoon. You see those flurries starting to work their way in from the north and west. Overnight tonight, partly cloudy skies, lows right around 1, and then you see how we begin to warm things up into the upper teens as we move into tomorrow. Now this deep cold air begins to move away as we go through time. We get just a little bit milder, but we're still just cold enough that with an active storm track towards the south, I think we could see more chances for snow and winter weather as we go through the week ahead. So we're watching Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday, and into early Saturday closely for a system that I think is going to be passing by somewhere in the upper Midwest, but there's still plenty of details to be fine-tuned.
Yes, I mean, because it's a little far out.
It is a little far out in Weatherland.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
My pleasure.
Well, you've been asking you to share your morning with us, and I like this weather better in this photo. I know it doesn't have any snow for Chris, but this was sent in from Joel in Fort Atkinson. Thank you so much for sharing, Joel. What does your morning look like? You can take a picture and post it on the Channel 3000 Facebook page or on Twitter using the hashtag MyNews3Morning. We will share our favorites right here on the show. The Lake Geneva Ice Castles finally have an opening day scheduled. They are aiming for January 31st at 4 o'clock. The 1.8 million pound structure is being built at a new location at the Geneva National Resort and Club. Last year, the castle was built on the Lake Geneva beach, which restricted its size. And if you're still looking to get your ice fishing fix in today, the Wisconsin DNR is finishing off its free fishing weekend. Residents can fish almost anywhere without a license or trout stamp this weekend. DNR is also hosting several ice fishing workshops around the state. New numbers this morning in terms of the flu show that the flu activity is actually decreasing overall, but it remains high across the country. The CDC now says more patients are using telemedicine to see doctors virtually during the flu season.
You can get a full exam via telehealth for the flu. We can send you to a laboratory for testing if necessary, blood tests, flu test, chest x-ray.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention say flu B viruses, which tend to impact children, have been dominating, but flu A viruses are also increasing. So far this season, there have been at least 13 million flu illnesses, 120,000 hospitalizations, and 6,600 deaths. 39 children have died so far. And as we've learned from this winter, storms can be unpredictable, and so is the damage that they often leave behind. Next, we're joined by experts who shared the things you need to do within the first 24 hours of damage to ease your mind and budget. That's next on News 3 Now this morning.
One of the things we're keeping an eye on as we look ahead towards the long-term forecast is, well, the upper air pattern. That oftentimes drives what happens here on the ground. And right now, that upper air pattern has a lot of colder air over the northeastern part of the country. But I want to show you what happens as we go through time. The core of that cold really starts to settle in over parts of eastern Canada, keeping it from coming our direction. But then we actually begin to mild up just a little bit. Now, this is still some cooler air, but it's a lot warmer compared to what we typically could see around here. Even our cold shots are not as cold as the weather that we are dealing with now. So this does mean as we go through about the next 6 to 10 days, we're going to be looking at temperatures above average, but we're also going to be looking at a more active jet stream pattern that could send more storm systems our way. I'll be breaking those down throughout the show.
Thank you, Chris. Well, winter can be kind of unpredictable this time of year, not just in terms of weather, but because the storms that happen this time of year can cause unexpected damage. Tim Rush with Property Damage Appraisers is here to explain what you should do in the first 24 hours of any storm-related incident. So first of all, we see a lot of auto accidents this time of year. What should people know right off the bat?
Right off the bat, when you're involved in an accident, make sure that you're getting the police involved if you're involved with either another vehicle or property damages. The insurance company is going to want that police report. So it's very important to make sure. And there's also a number of other reasons, false information from, for your insurance information. You make sure you're getting that way. The police are going to verify, hey, this person's who they are and the information's out there. Next thing I would say would be, if your vehicle's not drivable and it has to be towed, tow it to the body shop or tow it to your home. The tow yard is probably the last place you want to take it. Usually that's a little bit of a delay as far as getting everybody out there and getting everything coordinated. And if your vehicle's repairable, then it's got to get from the tow yard to the shop. So you're better off going straight to the body shop or to your home, depending on, considering what the damages are. So.
Yeah, what are the common things that people see in terms of winter damage to their homes, and how should they handle that?
As far as damage to your homes, we're seeing a lot of frozen pipes and ice damming for the roofs. Making sure your gutters are cleaned out in the fall is a very good idea, obviously. As far as water, burst pipes and stuff like that, if you have something like that happen, don't wait for the insurance company to actually see that information. I want them to see that first. Make sure you're doing your best to mitigate that stuff. We do have stuff, moisture meters and stuff like that, plenty of experience. Yes, this was involved in a water loss, but make sure you're protecting your contents and getting stuff taken care of right away as soon as you can.
Right, I mean, you and I are kind of talking about what to do after the fact, but it seems like prevention can be a huge factor in helping people have a, chaos-free winter.
Frozen pipes, if you're going on vacation, 55 degrees is, is the lowest temperature in the wintertime you should be setting your thermostat at. Also making sure if you have some trouble spots or areas like that, make sure that you're either trying to blow some warm air in there, opening cabinet doors to let some heat into it under the sink to keep those pipes from freezing, or just keeping the water on just a little bit of a trickle to prevent that kind of stuff as well.
And Tim, I know you've been doing this for a long time. Before we go to commercial, anything that anyone watching should know, like one piece of advice that you want them to take away?
One thing I would say is be prepared in a situation when you have an accident. Know what your vehicle's worth. Go online. There's plenty of resources out there to find out exactly what or what your vehicle's worth, or get an idea of where it's worth, and be fair. If your vehicle isn't quite up to, is it ready for the dealership lot, when you're looking at those numbers or doing that research, look at it as a fair thing. Next thing I would say, make sure that throughout the process, everybody understands that this is a very troubling time, very, very stressful situation. Not exactly the time to happen to everybody, but be nice throughout the process. It gets you along. It gets you a lot farther along. That's with anything, honestly. Yeah. But that in this situation, it's really hard sometimes. Boy, oh boy, I'm really, really upset. That why this happening. Just being nice and decent, and it makes the process flow a lot sooner, a lot quicker.
Great advice. Thank you so much, Tim. We appreciate it. Hopefully saving people a lot of money. All right, well, there is still a half-hour news ahead on News 3 this morning, Sunday. Next, we're running through the morning's top stories. Plus, it's time for a New Year's resolution check-in. Time Magazine crunched the numbers and says most people have broken theirs by now. Christina Laurie turned to the experts, though, to share how you can keep yours going.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now this morning.
Good morning. It's January 19th. I'm Keely Arthur. Weather is once again the top story this weekend with the snow behind us, but lots of cold on the way. Chris is tracking it all right now. Hi, Chris.
Yeah, good morning, Keely. That is right. The snow is no longer a big deal for us. Things are quiet throughout Dane County. We might see a couple of flurries working their way in from the north. That's actually associated with some lake effect snows coming off of Superior into the UP of Michigan. But it is the cold that does continue to steal the show. Wind chill advisories are in effect all the way until noon for all of the counties that you see shaded. That includes places like Partyville, Poynette, Portage. You work your way over towards Lodi and Wisconsin Dells, down through Sauk City. If you live in Black Earth, Mazo-Maney, or over towards Sun Prairie and Marshall, these are all just some of the places that are under these wind chill advisories. I can never truly name all of the towns out there at once, but it feels like 11 below zero right now, 20 below zero as you work your way over towards Monroe, folks. And here's what happens as we go throughout the day. It'll feel like 6 below as we begin to approach lunchtime. Now I'm putting this in motion towards the warmest part of the day. Here we are at 4:30, 5 o'clock, and it'll still likely feel like 0. So this is what we're still keeping a very close eye on. We want to make sure that you all are all bundled up, but there is some warmer temperatures in the forecast, Keely, and we'll be talking about those. But there are also more chances for some rain and snow in this forecast, too.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Madison police are investigating a homicide that happened on a West Side apartment yesterday afternoon. Police say that the preliminary investigation indicates that this was a targeted incident. The victim suffered gunshot wounds, but the official cause of death has not yet been released. Neighbors say they didn't hear anything. A man who lives in the building, though, next door, says just in the last year, the area near Raymond Road has become much worse.
And there was cops all up and down this. There was a fire truck and an ambulance. And next thing I know, there's cops everywhere, and they're blocking everything off and checking people coming in and out. It happened in the next building over, and I don't know many of them. You know, you really don't associate with the people from the other buildings.
The victim has not yet been identified, but officials believe he is an adult male. The Diocese of La Crosse is naming 25 clergy members who participated in substantiated child sexual abuse accusations. While the report says where the priests or deacons served, most do not say when or from which parish the allegations originated. Most of the members accused are now deceased. This is coming after the Catholic Diocese of Madison added another name to its list of priests credibly accused of sexual abuse on Friday. Investigators went back more than 40 years to verify an accuser's story. Last year, the diocese announced that it was taking a deep dive into its history to find every priest who had credible accusations against them. They posted a list of those priests online, and when they did, someone called to let them know they were missing someone, Patrick Doherty. He has not served since 1993. Friday's announcement brings the total list in the history of the diocese here to 9. It could have been Aaron Rodgers leading the 49ers against the Packers tonight had things been a little different, but San Francisco went with Alex Smith for their first pick of the 2005 draft. Rodgers grew up in Northern California, watched plenty of Niners games, and even cracks a smile or two when he thinks about what could have been in a few different ways.
I usually dreamed about playing for the 49ers as a kid, but obviously that thing passed a long time ago. But I do remember, some great games over the years between the Niners and the Packers, and a couple in this situation, I think. Right, Tom? NFC championships? Just one? Thanks. Just one.
Kickoff for tonight's game is at 5:40. You can watch the game on Fox 47. And News 3 Now will, of course, continue to bring you the latest from the stands and sidelines. Our Melissa Kim and Adam Duxter will have live team coverage of the shows tonight. Time magazine says roughly 55% of New Year's resolutions are health-related, like exercising and eating healthier. And even if you've made it this far, keeping those up, congratulations. This morning, our Christina Laurie sat down with the pros to help you continue it into the new year.
With all the different diets, fads, and influencers out there promising us the next best thing, it can feel overwhelming to find what works best for you. Registered dietitian Tammy Schultz is back with us this morning. You're really good at finding what is best for other people because you know this yourself. Can you talk about your story?
Right, yeah. We only have a little bit of time, right?
Okay. Condense it down.
Right, I know. It goes way back. And so when I kind of took the time to really look at where my story started, it really went back to like 3rd grade. And that was the time where I was already starting to have some body image issues. Into high school, I got really restrictive and had a very limited selection of the foods I would eat. And then in college, I went the complete other extreme and emotionally ate my way to a 40-pound weight gain. And as an exercise sports science major, that wasn't maybe the best thing for me, but I learned so much through that process. And even though I loved exercise, I realized that using it as a form of kind of punishment for what I ate really wasn't the best approach. And so looking back at all of those experiences, all the different times that I tried to lose weight or just improve my emotional eating habits, I learned so much from that. And so being able to work with other people and understanding like what they're going through, how they're feeling, kind of that hopelessness that they feel, or that desperation of like, something's gotta work, something's gotta give. Like, I get that, I've been there.
And you also learned that you're not alone. So now you're helping people find out what works best for them. So how should people go about doing that? If they want to get on the healthy bandwagon, it's the month of January. Right. Where do they start?
Right, and you're right, there is a lot of different things out there. There's a lot of influencers out there, like eat this, not that. There's so many different things, and people with really strong opinions on both sides of the fence. And I think at the end of the day, like, you have to do you. You have to figure out what feels best for you, what feels realistic for you, and reaching out to someone that you connect with and that you trust and you can kind of talk through some of that stuff with. I think the biggest thing too is, going back and looking through those stories of, what worked for you. And if it worked for you back then, things that I did 10 years ago aren't going to work for me now because I have 2 kids and I'm not going to be, tracking and using a calculator like I used to anymore. So you really kind of have to look at all of those different aspects. But I think it's really doing your research and then at the end of the day, doing what feels best for you.
And you have a new program that's going to help people find out what works best for them. Can you just give us a little 10-second pitch for it?
Yeah, so Fearlessly Focused is kicking off on the 27th, and I'm so excited about it. It's a total passion project of mine. And it's for the people that, they already know what to do. They already know what healthy foods they should be eating. They're probably already eating them. They're probably already exercising. They've done all that stuff, and they've had all this experience, but yet they're still feeling stuck. This program is for those people. And it's really looking at a lot of the mindset things and kind of weaving in that nutrition to kind of help them make those fine tunes and tweaks.
And it really works. We'll hear one of your success stories ahead on our program next week. But for now, thank you so much for talking to us, Tammy.
Thank you for having me.
Back to you, Keely.
Thanks, Christina. More local news now. A missing person from Madison was found dead in a parking lot of a Blooming Grove McDonald's yesterday. The Dane County Sheriff's Office confirms to us right now that the cause of death is under investigation, but appears to be medical in nature. The medical examiner's office will perform an autopsy to determine the cause of death before releasing the person's name. And after 10 years on the force, or 70 in dog years, Madison Police Canine Slim is trading in his badge for life in retirement. Both Canine Slim and his handler, Officer Karen Corcoran, are retiring from the canine unit, making it official at a ceremony yesterday. Slim's success is in tracking, and that will be remembered most. Back in July of 2012, he conducted a 4-mile track that helped locate a homicide suspect. Tonight, Slim is home with his Officer Corcoran. The two of them are ready to enjoy retirement together. Well, sticking to your New Year's resolution shouldn't have to be very hard, and you shouldn't have to sacrifice any flavor. That is why we've brought in Longhorn Steakhouse into the studio this morning, whipping up some flavorful, fresh, and healthy dishes. That's all ahead on News 3 Now this morning, Sunday.
Folks, wind chills do remain the big story as we go through the morning, and that's going to take us all the way until lunchtime as well. I want to show you how some of these wind chill numbers are going to be playing out. Expect them to be into the teens below zero pretty much all morning long. By the time we get you towards the later part of the afternoon, we're still going to see those wind chills down into the low single digits or at least close to zero. Now, where those wind chills are right now, if you are not bundled up properly, you could see frostbite in about half an hour-ish or so. So make sure that if you have to be outside, first off, limit the time outside if you can, but also really bundle up, folks. We want to make sure you are well taken care of as we go through the day, and staying warm, after all, is Wisconsin in the middle of the winter. So this is all that you need to know. We're tracking a warm up along with more chances for some rain, snow, and cold in that extended forecast.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Well, eating lighter in the new year doesn't have to mean sacrificing flavor. Longhorn Steakhouse has launched a new blackened salmon that features the perfect blend of herbs and spices in the new flavor-packed blackening seasoning. Grill Master Chris Gernon is here in studio with us. Chris, I already put the gloves on, so I am ready to go. What are we cooking this morning?
Well, we got our blackened salmon, and just like our steaks and chicken, it's always going to be fresh, never frozen.
Yeah.
That's where the quality is, and we know that, and we season a lot. I brought along a few of our seasonings. We have 7 different proprietary seasonings at Longhorn Steakhouse. Our newest one is our blackened seasoning, which is a combination of paprika, thyme, and a lot of different peppers. But it gives it that spice, and it gives it a lot of flavor. It goes well with the salmon.
Yeah, it smells delicious. So this morning, this is the blackened seasoning?
This is it.
Okay, and you're putting me to work. I have to...
So we're going to season it. We're going to do it just like at Longhorn Steakhouse, and we're going to call it a round trip.
Okay.
So like we were talking about before, you're going to season it.
Yeah, you
start
give
it
me
one
some
way.
tips
There
during
you
the
go.
commercial break, and then I come back. Okay.
And it gets a lot of flavor into it.
Great.
Because a lot of people like to do a marinade, which is fine.
Yeah.
But a dry seasoning can work just as well as long as you get a lot in there. So if you're at home, just make sure you pat it on there, and we're going to even put more on there.
All right.
There you go.
You
Now,
can do this hard part.
When we go to cook the salmon, we always want to cook it flesh down first. It's going to really put that crust on there, and it's going to build that flavor into it. All right. Whenever you do that, you're going to cook it like that for roughly 75% of the time. What does that mean? It means that we're going to cook it to roughly 120 degrees. All right, and then once you get it like that, just like the one I have already right here, you're gonna flip it over, and you wanna finish it on the other side for roughly about another 2 or 3 minutes, and we're gonna try to get to that internal temperature of 140 degrees.
And, you know, everyone wants to go to Longhorn and have this cooked by you, but something that you can do easily at home. We've talked before in the past about how we love to grill in the summer, but you can still make these things at home inside during the winter.
Yeah, and we recommend cooking it on the flat top grill. That's what we do at the restaurant. But if you're at home, you're gonna cook it over the stovetop in a pan. Make sure it's turned to high and well oiled. If not, then it could really fall apart, and it just will get stick and it will rip apart.
Yeah, you don't want that.
When you cook it like that and you leave the skin on there, it allows it to really stick together and not fall apart either. More delicate fish don't tend to do as well in the pan.
And a lot of people kind of kill their New Year's resolutions by maybe getting a side of mac and cheese.
Yeah.
I love it, but a great option is maybe broccoli or something else. There's some lighter sides.
Of course, we have our citrus rice pilaf that pairs well with the salmon. We have broccoli and asparagus. We have a brand new cauliflower we brought along, but we do put a lot of cheese on there, so I don't know if that's going to go well with your New Year's resolutions.
Okay. And is there a limited time in terms of the blackened seasoning or anything like that?
The blackened seasoning should be part of the family now, so we should always have that. If you wanted to add it to something different, such as chicken, that's what I like. But for the fish, that will be a limited time menu option. Try to change it up seasonally.
And seasoning is a great option in lieu of, you know, maybe a buttered sauce or something like that, because it's a lot less calories.
And that's what we were saying with the dry rub. You can create that same great flavor by just using a really good dry seasoning, but putting a lot on there.
All right. Well, Chris, we always love having you here. I love that you brought a margarita in today. This is amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Well, you are about to take a live look over the Capitol. We will have a closer look at weather just ahead. But first, let's take a look at who is turning 3 today. Happy birthday to everybody celebrating. We will be right back.
Wind chill advisories remain in place for us, folks. Those are going to go all the way until lunchtime before we're able to pull these down. Those wind chills have certainly been something that we've been watching all morning long. They've gotten a little better at times in Madison. So right now, our wind chill is 9 below. Monroe, that wind chill is 20 below. And the further you work your way towards the south and west, I think the lower those wind chills get, just because that's where those stronger winds are. Some things to know. The reason wind chill is important is because wind is an efficient carrier of heat away from your body. So it really cools you down, and with wind chills where they are now, it could take you a little over half an hour to encounter frostbite if you aren't bundled up properly. So that's why I'm harping on the wind chills this morning. I just want to make sure everyone's taken care of. But in terms of the actual sky conditions, other than some cloud cover and a few flurries, things are going to be all right for the most part. We are seeing some moisture come down towards the south off of Lake Superior. The further east you are, the better chance you will be for having some flurries later on. 4 is our temperature right now. Those winds still coming out of the north and west at 8 miles per hour. We'll warm up towards 6 by the time we get you towards 10 o'clock. Peak heating of the day, look for those highs right around 11 to 15 or so. Also, notice how Future Track is showing those flurries, especially towards the north and east of Madison. Tonight, we cool down towards 1 again. So folks who might be headed out early tomorrow, those wind chills will again be a story, but by tomorrow afternoon, we'll see those temperatures into the upper teens. So that's going to be good news. Watch the pattern as we head through time. The core of the cold begins to work its way towards the east. Back towards the west, we see some milder temperatures working their way in here, though we're still a little bit on the chillier side. I do think our temperatures will be remaining above average as we begin to close out your January, but with above average temperatures, we also have a chance of above normal precipitation. In fact, watch what happens as we go into our extended forecast here. We see those chances for both rain and snow returning by the time we get you towards Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Right now, I'm not saying a big snowstorm or anything like that, but nonetheless, it's our next storm that could bring the chance of accumulating wintry weather. So that's what we'll be ironing out as we go through the week.
Right, and that can be really dangerous when you're kind of hovering around the freezing for people driving.
Be. Especially, all it takes is the thinnest layer of ice. Snow, you still get traction, but once you start to form ice in the snow, you have problems.
Well, I feel like this past week has been a big learning curve for people.
Yes.
We are officially in winter weather. I think people are kind of being a little bit smarter now.
Yes, so you'll want to be alert towards the forecast and any changing weather conditions this week.
Thank you, Chris.
My pleasure.
Well, our team coverage from San Francisco for the NFC Championship is continuing today, and by tomorrow, hopefully we're celebrating a Packers trip to the Super Bowl. But first, here we go again. One of the most popular Broadway musicals hits the stage at the Verona Area Community Theater, and our Michael Bruno is taking us backstage. That's next on News 3 This Morning Sunday. Welcome back. In 1975, the Swedish group ABBA. Chris, are you a big fan?
I've never heard of them.
My mom loves ABBA. Topped the charts with a song called Mamma Mia. You've heard of that, right?
Okay. Absolutely.
It was turned into a Broadway musical in 1999, and since then, more than 65 million people have gone to see the show.
Yeah, now those numbers will inch up a bit because the Verona Area Community Theater is staging Mamma Mia this month, and our Michael Bruno brings us behind stage to check it out.
I work all night, I work all day to pay the bills I have to pay. Ain't it sad?
This is the really great thing about doing community theater, is that it's for everybody of all ages. But it's even greater about ABBA themselves is that they speak to every generation. No matter what you're going through and the experience that you currently are feeling, there's a song by ABBA that works to support you in your current moment.
Money, money, money must be funny in a rich man's world.
And did you find it interesting how you can take a bunch of unrelated songs and how they made this plot kind of meld around the songs for that?
Right, it sort of meanders its way through the ABBA song. It's sort of like an ABBA concert, really, with some story in it. But really, the ABBA songs are just a fantastic way to emphasize what's going on in the plot. And of course, I mean, I grew up dancing to ABBA, singing ABBA as well, so it's just a dream to be able to do this with a awesome band and an awesome ensemble, too.
It's a rich man's world.
There's all these talented people in the Madison area, and most adults, few other teenagers my age, and it's just crazy to be a part of such a large production between cast, crew, like everyone is so nice and so welcoming, and I'm just really thankful.
Money, money, money must be funny in a rich man's world.
And has there been anything like challenging or difficult?
A very specific part is during Voulez-Vous, which is their Act 1 closer. I'm walking around for a lot of it, and it's kind of turned into one of my favorite parts of the show because I'm walking around as blocking, but there's people on stage dancing. So getting hit in the face almost a lot of times during that is kind of fun.
If I had a little money, it's a rich man's world.
Why does suddenly everybody's doing Mamma Mia? It's just insane how many companies, high schools, and community theaters, it's like suddenly there's this ABBA Mamma Mia craze.
Yeah, so Mamma Mia opened on Broadway in 2001, and it has been a smash ever since. And for years and years, MTI Music Theater International was advertising that the rights were coming available. The rights were becoming available, and finally in 2018, they released the rights. So everyone was applying. We tried 3 times before we got it. Everyone was trying to get the rights to do that musical.
All right, you can catch Mamma Mia in person at the Verona High School Performing Arts Center today at 2, and then next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 7:30. And you can get the tickets at that website on your screen. Leah Linscheid, News 3 Now's Leah Linscheid, texted me saying she loves ABBA too. So maybe Leah, you should go. We can go together.
Yeah, take me.
All right, yeah.
I'm gonna crash the friendship party. Take me.
All right, so if we do travel anywhere, you have to bundle up. Cold.
Yeah, bundle up today. Those highs are only going to top out around 11. We'll have a chance for flurries. The alert day is due to the wind chills, but things get better as we go through the week. We're warming up, but we're watching the middle to end of the week for the next weather to impact us, wintry weather-wise.
Yes, cold is kind of the main emphasis.
At least today.
All right, thanks for watching, everyone. We will see you tomorrow.